in Omni-Orbis Church, and this is another program of 15 Minutes to a Greater Understanding. Today we're going to talk about what are the Hebrew names of God. If we look to the Bible, we find out, before we get started, that Moses actually invoked the 72 names of God when he took the staff of God and put it at the shore of the Red Sea to split the sea. And if you go to Exodus 14, 19 through 21, it says, "And the angel of God, which went before the camp of Israel," and you got to understand here, you have Israel leaving Egypt bondage for 430 years. 30 years were added to it because of Moses' disobedience. But anyways, 430 years, they were in captive. The family of Israel, which became 3 million plus, and all the people that left bondage in Israel, at the word of Pharaoh, he said, "Go." And then he realized what he had done. He'd gave up the gave up the workers and had the farm, and that was kind of difficult. But if you look, and it says here in Exodus 14, 19 through 21, it says, "And the angel of God, which went before the camp of Israel, removed and went behind them. And the pillar of the cloud went from before their face and stood behind them to protect them from the Egyptians. And he had the Red Sea in front of him, the Egyptians behind him, and mountains on either side. And it came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel, and it was a cloud and darkness to them, but it gave light by night to these." Very similar to what's going to happen in Revelation. We won't need the moon and the stars and the sun. Light will be given. And it says here, darkness to them, but it gave light by night to these, so that the one came not near the other all the night. And then it says, "And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea and planted the staff of God," which actually came from the Garden of Eden. "And the Lord caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea dry land, and the waters were divided." Now, keep in mind, some of them say that it's where there were the swamp, but it was a couple of miles deep, the Red Sea, where they crossed, and it they crossed on dry land. Egypt, along with everyone that went with them, could have been very possibly some of the Egyptians left with them, because there was a lot of people from all over the world there in Egypt, and they were going to freedom. And they didn't know where they were going, but they knew that they were following Moses, who actually destroyed with God the 10 gods of Egypt. And because those are the Egyptian gods that Israel and every one of them lived under, destroyed them right before their eyes, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and destroyed them. And when he put that into the ground, he evoked the 72 names of God, and it caused the sea to be dry. And actually, can you imagine, you're crossing the sea and you have this wall of water, and fishes are floating either side of the wall of water. But what we want to look at is the first name of God, which is Adonai, is the plural of the Hebrew word Adon, which means Lord or Master. It was first used as God's title before it was used as God's name. It's plural. And Adonai, the Jews also called God Adonai, Hebrew for Lord. Formally, this is plural, or my lords, but the plurality is usually construed as Adonai. And Adonai is the Hebrew name for God, meaning Lord and Master. It is the generic term for Lord in Hebrew. It is first seen in Scripture when Abraham longed for God. Then there's Ilya. Ilya, Asher Ilya, is based on the future tense of God, of the Hebrew verb meaning to be, God to be. Often translated, I am who I am. That's the same God that when Moses went to the top of Mount Sinai in the middle of Sinai in Saudi Arabia, he seen what? He says, well, who shall I say sent me? He says, I am who I am. In Ilya, Asher Ilya, the name Ilya Hebrew denotes God's potency in the immediate future and is part of Yahweh. And then there's the term Elohim for God. These are attributes. God is not named, but there's the attributes of God. In Hebrew, the word for God is Elohim.